announcement of the exchange is that due to extreme volatility during today's trading day because of misrepresentation of new QIP guidelines, Yes Bank has been advised by appointed merchant banks to defer the proposed QIP. Mr. Kapoor, what happened? I mean, where is the confusion on the QIP guidelines?
So, Lata, the guidelines are a little complicated because fundamentally they advise that the QIP has to be kept open for 3 days. Amazingly, we got a very good response. And then in the consequences of this interpretation, things have got a little deferred. And therefore, we believe that once the understanding is very clear, as it is an Indian regulation, that even if you have a good response, you must close. And I was told to keep the QIP open for 3 days. So naturally, investors want a decision to be made ASAP, and therefore the confusion.
Okay, but were SEBI rules changed recently, Mr. Kapoor? Because we have seen a bunch of QIPs in the recent past as well.
It just so happens that, to the best of my knowledge, as advised by our merchant bankers, Goldman Sachs, Motilal, and CLSA, that these guidelines necessitate that the QIP, and ours is a global QIP, has to be kept open for 3 days. So therefore, in the process, the volatility sinks in, and which I believe is not a very good policy. So I'm going to represent that over the next few days and then open the QIP in course of time. And I'm sure that response will be even better than it was last night.
Are you saying that because SEBI asked you to keep the issue open till 3 days, there was a view in the market that the QIP didn't get enough money and therefore people started pulling out? Is that how you see it?
No, actually, I'll tell you very honestly, the response had been fantastic. All I can tell you truthfully.
Yes, sir.
Because I was monitoring the register till 6 a.m. in the morning. It was overwhelming. But the fact that when you keep it open for 2 days and there is lack of understanding of the regulation, then why is the issue not being closed on the spot, right? So the interpretation of the regulation, if it requires for it to be kept open for 2 days, creates uncertainty on the issue.
But sir, can you elaborate on that point? As you're saying, the response was overwhelming in the beginning. If you could give us some sense on, I mean, was half the issue subscribed? Was a quarter of it subscribed already? And then what sort of confusion, even if the issue were to be open, if it was getting such great response, how would those 2 additional days have led to any sort of uncertainty?
It's a very good question. It's a very brilliant question because, fundamentally, you cannot allocate. Every investor in the world who is not used to the complexity of Indian regulation wants to subscribe and to get an allocation, and with the allocation, get an allotment. And with this 3-day window, the investor doesn't know whether, the entity that they are subscribing from will be able to get the allocation. So this whole thing becomes like a bit of a mirage. And therefore, I'm not in favor of this regulation. I'm going to represent this as soon as next Monday. And we are actually fully equipped. The response was fantastic. We were already one-time booked at 4 a.m. in the morning.
So, Mr. Kapoor, could you not ask SEBI whether you could close it at 6 a.m. today? What did SEBI tell you when you asked them?
No, Lata, I can't ask SEBI at 6 a.m. in the morning because the regulation says, under current circumstances, to keep the issue open for 3 days and then to have a board meeting to decide on the same 2 days later. No, this doesn't work in reality because these are issues as in the past.
But the rules changed recently, sir?
Yeah, they're very much on the website of SEBI. They're very evident. And, we've had Alan Overy, Luthra and Luthra, and Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas advisors. So naturally, there are specialized lawyers who give us technical advice on the subject.
Was it that, one of the things we heard from brokers is that there were some hedge funds who had put in their bids and the bank was not in favor of hedge funds. You all wanted long-only funds.
No, Lata, nothing like this. All our lives, we have worked very well. and hedge funds in Yes Bank have got very good return.
Okay.
And we have a very good book today. If I can share my book with you, 42.5% is my foreign investment.
Okay.
And out of that, I only have a 2.2%, 2.2% P-note book,
Okay.
which is hedge funds. Rest is, investors we know. And I can tell you 90% of the investors, so 42.5% ownership of Yes Bank are long only.
Sir, what you just said, it's a very important confidence-building statement as well. You said at around 6 a.m. you were already one-time book on this issue. So would you say that valuations are not a concern? This issue has not been deferred or taken off the table because you want to rework the valuation numbers?
No, because, this 3-day window, unfortunately, has created, let's say,
Confusion.
speculation, right?
Okay.
To put it very simply. And we are not in favor of speculation on a stock, on a bank, which is a reputation business. And I'm not in favor of that. So I instructed the bankers, Goldman Sachs, Motilal, and CLSA, that we will do the deal later.
Okay.
There's no hurry.
Okay. Was there a word, keep the issue open up to 3 days, or does the rule say keep the issue open for 3 days? Because we heard confusion around that word. That
No.
yeah.
SEBI has, I think the guidelines are abundantly clear that the issue has to be open for 3 business days.
Oh.
And a QIP can be oversubscribed, as was almost happening in our case within a few hours.
Okay.
And that was, Lata, the case in 2014, when in 6 hours I got a 5 times response on a $500 million issue.
Yep.
And that was, $2.5 billion response.
Okay.
And we closed it at 1 a.m. And now my people tell me the issue is coming up. The regulator is saying keep it open for 3 days. I don't understand.
Okay.
Nobody understands.
Sir, please bear with me and allow me to ask this question with complete respect. I ask you this. I'm sure the bankers and the advisors to this issue would know the prevailing regulations. Wasn't this discussed earlier, this 3-day window that might make investors a little uneasy? And now when you go back to, bring the issue back to the market, would you be looking at similar pricing points, or would you be reconsidering the pricing as well?
No, you see, what happens is that every quarter and beyond, when you prove your performance, as we have for many quarters, for many quarters we have proven our performance, right?
Yep.
So the fundamental point is that the book value goes up, and with the tailwinds in the economy exceeding the headwinds, and and the headwinds getting somewhat marginalized, the macroeconomic story of the banking sector is getting fantastic now.
Yes, certainly
right? So,
things are. Yeah.
So I'm very happy in a way, indirect way, that later may be better than sooner.
All right. Mr. Kapoor, all the very best to you. Thank you very much for joining us and clarifying those details. So that's the Managing Director and CEO of Yes Bank clarifying that it was confusion over SEBI's rules requiring that the QIP be open for 3 days, which led to volatility in the stock markets, and hence the issue is being deferred. It's being pushed back, and it will come later, probably after some clarification with the SEBI itself. The bank has just said that it is going to make a representation to the capital markets watchdog.